Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Kay, and I am here today to do a review for Love and Basketball. Okay, so now that I've been in my swagger bag, if you have not already, please check out my swagger playlist. And if you are not watching swagger, what are you doing when you have free time? You need to go on to Apple TV and watch swagger, especially if you hooped, because swagger is like that, okay? But anyway, I was talking to my husband the other day and I realized that majority of the stuff that I do review is sports based. So I'm like asking him, I'm just like, does that make me biased? Because I review All American, I review All American Homecoming, now I'm reviewing Swagger. I'm just like, to me, if it's not sports related, am I not watching it? But anyway, so, of course, I'm here today to review Love and Basketball. Of course, I've seen Love and Basketball so many times that I could quote the storylines. But now, since I'm watching Swagger and there are some people who are involved in Swagger that help create Love and Basketball, I was like, I might as well. And plus, as a person who hooped themselves, it's only right to review Love and Basketball. Now, Love and Basketball came out in 2000. In 2000, I was 8 years old. So I think the first time I saw Love and Basketball was probably not long after that. I was probably a preteen at summer camp when I first saw Love and Basketball. So I've been watching Love and Basketball for almost 20 years. So there was a time though where I had stopped watching Love and Basketball because I myself had gone through some things with basketball. So I was just like, I don't necessarily want to be watching anything that's gonna make me have feelings of reminisce. So I hadn't watched it in a few years. And so now at the tender age of 31, I am here to review the movie. Also, you know how sometimes when you scroll TikTok, there be people who talk about films and how films may have had some toxic tendencies, because just from the times and now looking like modern day, how we view some of those things as toxic. Love and Basketball was one of them movies that people felt had some toxic tendencies, but I disagree. So there probably will be a few unpopular opinions in this movie, but let's just start out by saying every hooper thought that their life was gonna be like Quincy and Monica's. Every hooper thought that their life was gonna be like Quincy and Monica's, but I mean, it just is what it is, and I am one of those hoopers. Okay, so when I talked about it in my soccer reviews, but like one of my first profile pictures was a steal from Love and Basketball. Like that's just how long we was like slightly like very much obsessed with the movie, like, and because it was just like honestly and truthfully, there has been no other movie that focuses on sports and like a relationship with two people playing sports in it. There's no other movie been done like that. And so of course, as you know, Love and Basketball is about basketball. So the way the movie is divided up into 4 quarters. The first quarter being Quincy and Monica growing up, or they're young, they're children. And so I think they meet around the age of 9. Quincy has been living in the neighborhood. Monica and her family are just not moving into the neighborhood. And so Quincy is outside with his friends, and I think some of the little boys were like, "Oh, it's this new kid on the block. They play basketball. Let's play 2-on-2." And so right when they about to start playing, it's crazy. Monica take her hat off, and they realize that she's a girl. And I just thought that was funny because, listen, the way little Monica looked as a young girl, looking rough, outside with nothing but boys. Guess who that was? It was me. That was me. My hair never stayed done. Whether it was in braids, whether it was in a little twist with the bows. My mama tried to make me look all cute. I came back looking like the wind blew me in. Okay? Listen. I definitely was one of them girls that was outside with the boys playing basketball, popping wheelies on bikes. I was doing all of that. So it's just like right there, I was just me and Monica was here. We was here. So Quincy, of course, I don't know why it's so taboo for a girl to play sports. But either way, they were growing up in the 80s. So I guess in the 80s it was very much taboo for girls to play sports. So he was like, girls don't play basketball. Girls don't play basketball. And so she went out there and gave all of them the business. She was out there banking, busting them down, breaking them, taking them to the hole. Monica was. And so it's just one play where Monica and Quincy are talking junk to each other, and Monica go up for the layup, and Quincy pushes her, and she falls in the yard and hits her face on a sprinkler, and she's bleeding. And so, Monica goes home, and her mama is cleaning her up, and her mama is kind of chastising her a little bit, saying like, "Why you out there acting like a little boy? Why you out there? Why you just can't just be act like a little girl? Why you got out there being so rough?" And then her father comes in and was just like, "Oh, she'll be fine. She's tough. She can handle it." You know what I'm saying? And so Monica is cleaning up her face while her mama is still talking junk. And she look at her face, and it's like a warrior woman. It's a battle woman. Like she got this playing the game she loved. So Monica and her mom end up going next door. And of course, Quincy is next door. No, matter of fact, Quincy and his mama end up going next door to Monica's house. But Quincy's mama is zhuzhing up a cake that she bought to make it look like she made it. And Quincy is drawing Monica a I'm sorry card. And so basically we see the dynamic between Quincy and his parents. And so Quincy's father is an NBA player. I think at the time Quincy's father was maybe possibly transitioning out of the league, or he was at the tail end of his NBA career. He played for the Clippers. And so his name was Zeke McCall. He was number 22. And so of course you can see that Quincy like idolizes his father. He puts his father on a pedestal or whatever. And so it starts off saying, Quincy says he can't do something. His father lets him know that can't should never be in a man's vocabulary. And so that's something that stuck with Quincy throughout the duration of the movie. But once Quincy and his mama go next door, the moms start talking. And so Quincy started asking Monica like questions like, he apologizes. And so basically, he starts asking her about like, so where did you learn how to play basketball or whatever? And she was just like, I don't know, I just can't. And then he was just like, well, I never knew a girl who could play basketball before. And then he was like, she was like, who's your favorite player? And then he was like, my daddy, of course. And then she was like, well, how many points did your daddy have in the game? How many points did your daddy have in middle school? And so she tells him, my favorite player is Magic, and I'm going to wear number 32 like Magic. She had Magic number on her sneakers. And so, like, moving forward, like, when we go into quarter 2, when we meet Monica and she's playing in the game, you can see, like, she's head over heels in love for the game of basketball. But, of course, because she's a woman or she's a female, there are just aspects of the game that we have to acknowledge, like where basketball was at that present time. So this is probably in the late 80s. She's in high school. And so girls basketball isn't what it is today, and like how it is with, like, for example, the LSU women winning the national basketball championship, and how they have so much notoriety. People wasn't really checking for women's basketball like that then. So you can tell, like, Monica has had to work hard to get where she is at the game, and she continues to work hard at her craft, while on the other hand, Quincy is basically on the straight way to follow in his father's footsteps. Like, everything comes easy to him. The reporters are there at the game every time because they know his father is going to be there. And so, of course, at Crenshaw is that iconic school that is always talked about. in all of the LA movies. And so, and plus they live in LA, so it's the climate for that kind of situation to happen is there. And so Quincy, is getting all this notoriety. He's like the top player at the school. He's the popular. All the girls want him and swooning over him. And of course, Monica is there at the game just looking. Now at this time, we can tell Monica is in love with Quincy. And so that kind of goes back to first quarter when after Monica and Quincy have that whole situation, Quincy asked Monica to be his girlfriend. And so from that time on, you can see that Monica and Quincy kind of grew up best friends, but she kind of was on the back burner because Quincy was out there and she wasn't. And so from the time that they tussled in the yard after he was like, I want you to be my girlfriend, they always kind of had this thing for each other. But in the beginning, I ain't gonna hold you. And I said it to my husband last night when we was watching it. I was just like, it kind of always seemed like you could tell Monica had feelings for Quincy, but you could never really tell up until a certain point that he had feelings for Monica. And so there's this girl who has a crush on Quincy, and at the game, she was like, can you give this note to Quincy? And she was like, no, why? She was just like, just give it to him. And so Monica takes the note. And so after the game, she asked Quincy for a ride home because, of course, their neighbors, they live right next door. Their windows to their bedrooms are right across the yard from each other. So they are literally in walking distance and able to hop out of each other's windows to go to the other person's room. And so Quincy and Monica are having like a back and forth in the car. And the dance is coming up, and this is their senior year, mind you. So there have been scouts at both the men's and the women's game. And it's kind of late into the school year, and Monica have not gotten no looks yet. Of course, Quincy gotten all the looks, and they're trying to basically have a little press conference to announce what school Quincy is going to pick. But right now, Monica ain't got no recruits. So Quincy tells Monica in the car that if she don't calm her attitude down, schools is not gonna want to recruit her because that's not how she should carry herself. And Monica was like, who are you to tell me how to carry myself? She was like, you get in some guy's face, you talk junk, and you get a pat on your butt. I get told to act like a lady. So then she pulled out something out her pocket, and he's like, what's that? And she's like, it's something though from Shawnee Easton. And so, or Shawnee Easton told me to give you. And he trying to figure out who Shawnee Easton is. And so at this point, because of Shawnee Easton's physical attributes, because I'm not going to say what he said on camera, but because of the way Shawnee's bodies look, he calls her name out by her physical attributes. And so she reads the note that Shawnee wrote. And basically, Shawnee just want Quincy. She don't want to get to know Quincy. She ain't trying to have a friendship with Quincy. She just wants Quincy. And so Quincy was like, well, I didn't know you care so much. And she was like, I don't. And so then basically he was like, well, who are you going to take to the dance? Spalding. And she was like, who is Spalding? And he points to the ball, and then she punches him. And so at this point, they going back and forth. And it kind of seems like there's a little bit of jealousy going on. But you can tell, like, from watching him watch her play her game, and then from her watching him play, you can tell there's a little bit of, a little something right there. But, he ends up taking her home. And so Quincy goes home. Quincy has been having girls in the house. His mama gets on him. She asks where his father is. His father says he has a meeting. He's not coming home. So now we can tell that there's a little bit of something going on between Quincy's mother and father, but it has yet to be said what is actually happening. But we could kind of see that they're kind of drifting apart. But they're still married, but they're drifting apart. So when Quincy's father finally does come home, Quincy's mother and father start arguing. So Quincy gets up, gets out of bed, and goes and knocks on Monica's window. And she lets him in. He get on the floor. She throw a cover and a blanket. A cover and a pillow down there. And he goes to sleep. That scene right there lets me know, like, that Monica was Quincy's safe space. And, like, I don't think that's talked about a lot, because a lot of people always talked about how Quincy was toxic. But I don't necessarily know if I agree that Quincy was toxic. Quincy was arrogant. Quincy was, well, conceited and arrogant are the same, basically the same word. But Quincy kind of had the path laid out for him, and Monica didn't. So Quincy was riding his wave while Monica was trying to create her own wave. And so with Monica being Quincy's safe space, that let me know that they had some kind of a bond. And so with them being at that age where they grew up together, they was together all the time, they probably played together growing up, they probably went to school together their whole lives, and then they got to their senior year, you can tell that there was something between the both of them, but it was yet to be explored because they didn't know how to go about it because they had been around each other for so long. And so I guess the final game comes, and Monica's playing, and the game gets intense to the point where Monica misses the game-winning shot, and so she's forced to foul one of the players, and she fouls out. And USC coaches were there, and she just went to the bench and cried. Like, and that was, to me, a very pivotal part in her journey, because at that point she didn't know what was going to happen next. She was very uncertain about her future. She didn't know, like, where her future was going. And so Quincy even saw that, like, she was devastated about it. So next thing you know, the scene pans, and Monica is getting ready to go to the dance because her sister had told her previously that she was going to find her a date, that she won't go alone. So, of course, they dolling Monica up. This is like both of their dreams, because they never saw Monica in this light. They never saw her in a feminine light. They always saw her rough, rigid around the edges, a tomboy, wearing the sweats, wearing her hair back in a ponytail, having on the slides. Like, her mama was just like, her mama would always say, like, you can't find any girl clothes. But that one moment where Monica puts on her dress, her mama finally sees her in the light where, oh my God, my daughter's truly beautiful type situation, which, her relationship with her mama in itself was very strained, because her mama was the total opposite of her. Her mama was more domestic, more submissive, more subservient, and Monica was more of a go-getter. And so her mama went in her room and got her grandmother's pearls, and she put them on her dance, put the pearls on her neck for the dance. And I guess that was one of the moments where, that was one of the moments where her mama, I guess, had that proud mama moment. But we get to the dance, and Monica walks in with I don't know his name. I don't know his character's name, but it's Boris Kojo. And so it's just crazy to me as a sidebar how many movies these people have been in together. Like at the time that Love and Basketball was filmed, Sanaa Lathan and Omar Epps was together in real life. But then in Brown Sugar, which happened right after Love and Basketball, Boris Kojo and Sanaa Lathan's characters were engaged to be married on the movie. And then it's just crazy because I think, was Sanaa Lathan in the Wood? Sanaa Lathan was in the Wood because she played the older version of Alicia, right? Didn't Omar Epps have a crush on Alicia? Anyway, it's just, people back then was booked, okay? They was booked. They was out here working. And so, it's just funny because she comes in to dance with this really, like, form-fitting dress on. And I was like, yes, the body is bodying, period. It's giving tone. It's giving cuts. It's giving muscles. It's giving athletic body, period. And so Quincy is off from afar and he's with Shawnee Easton and he like, oh my God, because he's never seen her, look like that. In that, like he's never seen her in that light. And it's crazy because a lot of the times, and I also watched, shout out to Big Jaw and his friends, they did the review of Love and Basketball. It was just funny because they was talking about the whole diamond in the rough thing and how guys don't really sometimes go for girls like Monica because they afraid of what their friends or their partners might think. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because, yeah, a lot of the times guys will go for girls that look like Shawnee Easton. And honestly, like, truthfully speaking, when I was in high school and I was playing basketball, guys all the time, girls like Shawnee Easton would approach guys like Quincy all the time. But the guys like Quincy would really be checking for the hoopers. Like, I'm not even going to hold you. Like, to this day, my friends tell me that I am in denial about the amount of guys that, wanted me. And I knew they wanted me, but I really paid a lot of them dust because I knew how they were. Because they acted like Quincy. They went for all the girls. If any of the girls was throwing anything at them, they was going after it. And guess who wasn't about to be next on the list? Me. You weren't about to dog me. I sat here and listened to all the stories that you told me about all the girls you dogged. So why am I going to give you a chance? But anyway, so guys really do like, like when a guy, especially, people don't talk enough about the bond that people have when sports is involved. Like, that bond is next level. Like, and you can see it in the movie, especially, even in the show Swagger. Like, you can see it. Like, Quincy had that bond with Monica, and you could tell he had been loving Monica his whole life. They've been friends their whole life. But he didn't know how to approach her and tell her nothing like that because she was Monica, the tomboy girl. The girl from around the way. She hooped. I mean, she wasn't really entertaining no dudes. You didn't really see no dudes coming up to her, knocking down her door to ask her to like, she was like kind of in the shadows a little bit. And so, he looks at her, he walk up to her, and even Shawnee was like, dang girl, ain't no Nike made dresses. Like, all the slick comments. Like, anyway, so it gets to the point where they start dancing. And this is the first scene where I noticed, like, Quincy was jealous. And so she dancing, Monica dancing with her date, Quincy dancing with her date, and then they gazing at each other from across the room. They giving each other the eye. I was just like, bruh, it would have only been too simple to write Quincy to ask Monica to the dance in the script. It just would have been too simple for that to happen. So we had to go through the fire just for them to be together. Like, and so of course now everybody is like in love. It's Love Jones is going on. People, us watching the movie on screen, we like, oh crap, they in love. We finna see the beginning of a love story. We about to see the beginning of a love story. And like, who watches TV and a love story is developing and you don't get giddy yourself? Like, we love love. Like, we love seeing other people happy. So like, they watching each other from across the floor, and Quincy has made comments about Monica's date throughout the night. So Quincy is feeling some type of way at this point. So after the dance, Quincy is supposed to be with Shawnee. Quincy comes home. Monica is supposed to be with her date. She comes home. So Monica looks in her room. She has an envelope on her desk from USC, and she's afraid to open it because she saw the scouts there at her game that night. And so she sees that Quincy is home and his window is open. So she hooty-hoos to him from across the yard. And he like, what? And so she motions for him to come here. And so he comes out the window. He's standing outside her window, and she's sitting in her window. And she hands him the envelope. And she's like, I can't do it. Can you open it for me? So he opens the note. He reads it. And he like, and she like, what? He was like, they want you. And she was like, for real? And so she just happy. She just like so happy because she thought that she had missed her moment. She thought her moment was about to pass her by because she really wanted to hoop in college. And so Quincy congratulates her. And then he tells her that I'm going too. I was going to announce it tomorrow. He was supposed to announce, like, because he's supposed to have a big announcement about where he was going. So now, because he's a top recruit, he's a top men's basketball college recruit. And so then they start hugging, and you kind of see Monica lean in a little bit. And I'm like, oh. So this kiss was never mutual. Like, Monica leaned in. Monica just went ahead and went for it. And Quincy was like, what was that? And she was like, I know, right? So then they just start making out. And then they fall over in the grass. They look at each other goofy because, like, of course, they had that whole montage in the beginning of the movie with them falling in the grass or whatever after they kissed when they were kids. And so now Monica tells Quincy, come on. So she's motioning for them to become active. And this is crazy. And I just thought this was, interesting because that was the first time Monica lost her flower. Do you understand? Like, I believe that, my personal feelings is that I believe you should give your flower to the person that you're going to marry. But it don't always work out like that. And I'm understanding of that. But do you understand the amount of trust that Monica had to have for Quincy for her to allow him to deflower her senior year? Like, and she knew that Quincy was with all these other girls. She knew that. But because, to me, I don't think she was going after Quincy because of the hype. I honestly don't. I honestly feel like she loved him. And so with her loving him, and she knows that Quincy feels a way about her, and he knows, like, okay, this is the moment. When they finally get into the moment, Quincy is very delicate with Monica throughout that whole time. And even though the experience doesn't seem enjoyable because that was her first time, you can tell that it was care. There was care that went into it. And I think that was, to me, portrayed well on screen, because most of the times when you have love scenes, they just be mostly hot and heavy. You don't really get to see the delicacy out of two people who love each other when you see love scenes. But so we get to the third quarter. Quincy and Monica are both at USC. Monica is a freshman and she got a whole lot of seniors that's really down her back. And there's always a moment, you know what I'm saying? There's always a little moment with freshmen that freshmen have to go through when they get on the team, because the other players feel like they earned their stripes and you gotta earn yours. And so they be talking junk to her. The coach is extra hard on her. Like, she calls Monica out for every single thing Monica does. And Monica is really feeling the pressure. While Quincy, on the other hand, his path was pretty much laid out for him. He get the red carpet treatment or whatever like that. And so when practice is over, like, Monica is like exhausted, she down or whatever, and her and Quincy are just walking on campus. Quincy got some fans, and she was just like, oh, you don't see me? And so then he caters to, like, the fact that, like, you know, she feel away or whatever. And so he reassures her. But then he says to her, out of all the girls I've been with, you the only one who I know that's for real. And that stuck out to me because it just says a lot to, like, their past. Like, they grew up friends. They've been next door. They've gone through life together. And now here they are in college together in a relationship. And they seem happy and in love. But, you know, things go left when Quincy's father gets caught having an affair on his mama. And I think that's where a lot of people had Quincy's character misconstrued for him being toxic and treating Monica anyway. Because you had to know that every moment after that, every interaction that Quincy and Monica had after Quincy finds out about his father, the trajectory of the relationship that he had with his father has a trickle-down effect on every relationship after that. Like, and the biggest one we see on screen is the one with his father and the one with Monica. And so it's just the fact that, like, Quincy's father was out here. He was outside. And then he tried to go to Quincy and talk to Quincy like a man. But he wasn't. He tried to talk to Quincy like a man, but wasn't forthcoming like a man with Quincy. So then he painted this picture to make it seem like, okay, Quincy know that couples obviously are going through something. His mama and daddy are going through. But his father kind of plays down the situation. He was like, there is a woman who is claiming that I may father her child. And she's lying. I don't father the child. But he made it seem like, you know, like, there's always women around because he's Zeke McCall. And when he tells Quincy, like, even when you go pro, there going to always be women there, you know, chasing you down, running you down. And at this point, I'm thinking, you know, he knows that Quincy is in a serious relationship with Monica. Now, don't get me wrong.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Okay. Bye, Siri.
It's been a pleasure.
Y'all, that was weird, right? I didn't even say her name. But it was just weird because after that, Siri got me messed up, y'all. I don't even know what my point was. What was the last thing I said? Oh, at this point, I'm thinking that Quincy's father knows that Quincy is in a relationship with Monica. This is why he's having that whole talk with him about don't ever get past, you know, don't ever put it past, like, this can happen to you or whatever type of situation. So Quincy goes home to talk to his mama about what his daddy said. And so Quincy started kind of riding his mama. It was like, you gonna believe a woman in the street over your husband? Like, obviously she just doing this for money. And so Quincy doesn't know that his mother has hired a private investigator, and that the private investigator has been following his father to see, like, what is really going on. Because the mother is tired. She has been begging Quincy's father to come home. She has been begging Quincy to she's been begging Zeke to spend time with Quincy. She's even told Zeke like some of the patterns that you have and are doing. Quincy is starting to develop them same patterns. Like, you know, she's trying to get Zeke to like see what's really going on, but Zeke is out here telling her, I got enough money, don't worry about it, you're gonna be a kept woman, we got enough money to keep your fine self in Gucci and gold. You know, like, so he has said all these things to Quincy's mom. So when Quincy's mom finally shows him them photos, Quincy is crushed. Like, and you can see like he is crushed. Quincy thought that his father was everything. Quincy wanted to be just like the man he thought that his father was. That's why he put him on that pedestal. So basketball was heavily tied to who Zeke McCall was, which is why, you know, a portion of Quincy's character was him playing basketball. So Quincy goes back to school and is talking to Monica about it, rightfully so, because Monica is there for him. But at this point, Monica is now competing to be starting point guard. And the moment that she's waiting for is finally here. Her curfew is coming up. She tells Quincy, like, I want to be there for you, but I gotta go. And Quincy kind of gives her, Quincy gives her static about it. Because he was just like, why can't you just stay here? And this scene kind of really made me mad. And I was telling my husband, because it was just, the writing was great. But you know how sometimes we know how the story is. The story got to go somewhere. But you would just have preferred for the story to go the way that it made the most sense. And to me, what made the most sense was, Quincy, if Monica has a curfew and you don't, go to her dorm. He talking about he didn't want to run into nobody. Okay, it was already late. Whoever was out, if they was out on campus, they was going to be where they was going to be at. And whoever was in for the night. Because it was late. It was going to be 11 o'clock. So, like, why didn't he just go with her to her dorm room? And he could have spent the night with her at the dorm room. They could have stayed up all night talking. She could have been there to, like, you know, talk to him, soothe him, encourage him, comfort him. She could have been all of that. And if they would have had a dorm check, he could have just hid in the bathroom or something till the coach went by. Like, anything could have happened. But he was like, nah, you should go. And like, he just automatically, he pushed her away. And everything after that, he pushed her away. And he started drinking. His game was off. His head was messed up. He even started talking to another girl. Told Monica that she was there for me when you wasn't. Like, he was being a douchebag. But what people don't realize, what people are failing to say with all that stuff that he was doing it out of hurt. So like the saying goes, hurt people. I'm not saying that it was right, but Quincy and the world that he knew was crushed. And so he was doing the best he could, trying to deal with what he was feeling. And he ended up breaking up with Monica. And Monica thought it was something that she did. But I guess at the time, Quincy didn't have the language to tell her. It was okay to tell Monica, even though like he wanted her to stay and she couldn't. It was okay for Quincy to tell Monica, I needed you and I felt like you wasn't there for me. Even if Monica chose herself, rightfully so. She chose herself rightfully so because she did what she had to do for her and her journey. But it still would have been okay for, you know, Quincy to voice how he felt about Monica leaving. And then she could have apologized or whatever and they could have moved forward. But Quincy decided, well, since his tie to basketball is with his father, and then his tie with basketball is with Monica, he was like, I'm done. So Quincy severed ties with his father and Quincy severed ties with Monica. And Monica was really heartbroken by that because at the same time, Quincy forgot that Monica was there with him through it all, and that was his friend. So not only did you just break your girlfriend heart, you broke your best friend heart. And to me, that was whack, because at the foundation, we friends. Like, I love you. Like, I would do anything for you. Like, when you really friends with somebody, you ride with somebody. And Monica was willing to ride, and Quincy wasn't allowing her to do that. And so that made things very complicated, because at that point, from then on, she didn't know what to do. Because he was just, he was gone. But I guess that was what was best, because Monica ended up going pro. She played her years at school. She did good, and she ended up being able to go pro and go overseas. But even before that, like, Quincy was going to stay in school. His father told him, stay your 4 years, develop your game, develop your craft as a player. And it was just like, after that whole situation with his father, Quincy shunned everything his father ever told him. Quincy declared for the league. Quincy didn't even tell Monica that he was going to declare for the league. And then when he went to the league, he ended up coming off the bench because his game was underdeveloped. He wasn't there. And that leads to something I always talk to my husband about when we talk about college basketball. Like, we know that there are some players who are just phenoms. You know what I'm saying? They can do the one and done. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or, it's no one and done. It's no high school, going straight from high school to the league now. But there were a few people who was able to do that. And all of those people who did that was like top tier in the league. But when you go to college, I just believe, like, some people should just stay in college, work on their craft, get their education, and then when the time comes, the league is always going to be there. And that's something that, Zeke told Quincy. He was just like, the league is always going to be there. The NBA is not going nowhere. There's no need for you to rush. And so I feel like his game was undeveloped. He get in the league, do a dunk, jump, fall, and tear his ACL. And it's just crazy, because he was in the league 5 years and his career didn't even get to go where he wanted it to, all because of what happened with his father. So that him putting his father on a pedestal, the demise of him and his mother and father's marriage, all of that trajectory went straight to Quincy, and his life went a different way. So he never got to see any other success that he wanted to playing professionally, all because of relationship, the trickle-down effect, his relationship with his father, and the decisions that he made. Monica was playing in Barcelona for 5 years. And I guess after 5 years playing overseas, she didn't have the community. She didn't have the support. She didn't have nobody to talk to. She was alone. And it's crazy because we didn't see Monica get close with any of her teammates. And she was really close, as the season went on, because you could tell, like, when Monica starting that she started developing relationships with her teammates. And let me tell you something. The relationships you have with your teammates is a bond like no other. Like, no other. So I'm surprised, like, when she was playing in Spain, that she didn't hang out. She didn't have the relationship with her teammates. She ended up meeting back up with one of her old teammates from college, because she ended up playing for the Italian team. And she was just like, Monica, you've been out here all this time and you haven't been enjoying your life. Like, what have you been doing? And so it just says a lot about Monica, the love she had for the game, like her headspace with Quincy. She never got over Quincy. And so, of course, she loved the game and she loved Quincy. But it seemed like when her relationship with Quincy faded, her love for basketball kind of faded. And so she ends up going home and get a regular job. And it might not make sense to the audience now, but then women's basketball was not where it is now. You know, in 25, I think the WNBA is currently 25 years old, or 20. It's between 25 and 28. But women had to, if they wanted to play pro, they had to go overseas to make their money. It wasn't no pro basketball in the United States then. I mean, women would play for the USA team, but there was no WNBA. It was none of that. That's why it was always a joke about her being the first woman in the NBA, because there was no WNBA yet. And so she comes home, gets a regular job, just like a lot of those women. If you watched, I think it came on ESPN. It was a 3-part series. They talked about the women's pro national team. If you haven't seen that, you need to watch that. That movie is really good. And Dawn Staley, Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and some other women were on that first Olympic team that America had. But a lot of them women played, and they played, and I don't even know if they played in college, but they were hoopers, and they didn't have the means to have the career like men did, like Michael Jordan and all them did, at the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. They didn't have that career like they could have. So Monica goes on, and she comes home, gets a job at the bank. She hears about what happened to Quincy. She goes to the hospital, gives them flowers. It's the first time they've seen each other in 5 years. They kind of have this talk where the quick catch-up talk, like, oh, I ain't seen you in a minute. I reached out to you a few times. I haven't heard from you. And she was saying how, she did everything. And so she tells Quincy that she really ain't feeling basketball right now. It's not fun for her anymore. And then she was like, do you know what I mean? He was like, no. And so you could tell there was kind of something there. You could tell the time had went by, and Quincy kind of was in a different place. And then you could see that he was kind of, I wouldn't say remorseful, but you could see like he kind of felt bad about the way things ended between him and Monica. And so because him and Monica were, so close for all those many years. And so at the time, currently in the story, Quincy is engaged to be married, and the wedding is 2 weeks away, and Monica is just now finding out about it. So not only do she find out Quincy is getting married, like, she is still dealing with feelings of heartbrokenness and wanting him back, but she can't do anything about it, and she hasn't done anything about it. And now she really, is like, dang, like, he's the love of my life, and he about to marry somebody else type situation. And so Monica goes home, and her mama, her and her mama exchange words, and they've exchanged words a few times that I haven't talked about throughout the story. But Monica's relationship with her mother kind of comes back around, and they kind of develop a mother-daughter bond based off of, of course, after she slapped Monica. But after they have their argument / meet of the minds about what's really happening, Monica's mom tells her, like, I never really liked that girl Quincy was with. I met her a few times, but I think he could do better. And when she told her that, Monica didn't realize that she was talking about her until after her mama told her that you need to go and fight for what you want. So it was Monica's mom who really kind of gave Monica that push to go after Quincy. But, it also was Quincy kind of creating that space where he was just like, his fiance had left because she was a flight attendant, and so he was staying with his mom for a few days. And so Quincy was like, well, there has never been no other girl that, I've known that loved the game as much as you. What happened? And he just wanted to know, like, what happened. And so I guess that was kind of opening up the door for Monica to be open with him and to tell him the truth about everything. But she was just like, stop pushing it. Like, stop pushing it. And so, after all of that happens, Monica looks at her room and I can't think if she had already cleaned her room out, or like when she saw Quincy next door, she just started taking everything down. Which, sidebar, I totally related to Monica when she went through that whole phase of cleaning out her room and everything that reminded her of basketball. Because why did I do the same thing? When my basketball career didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, and mind you, like, I wasn't no all-star basketball player. I wasn't a star basketball player, but I was really decent and I really played hard, and I was a role player. Like, I was wholeheartedly into being on a team. I was a team girl, okay? Like, we could do whatever, and I always understood it took 5 people, not just that one. And so, like, after my senior year, when everything, I had posters that my favorite college players had signed. I had paintings and everything that I had done, because basketball was like the center of my world. And so, like, I went through that same thing where I took all my stuff down and threw it away and everything like that. So Monica was just in a weird place with basketball, and she was questioning, like, her future in it and whatever. And so she goes to Quincy's room in the middle of the night, knocks on the door, wakes him up. I mean, she knocks on the window, wakes him up, tells him to come outside so they can talk. And so she was ready to finally tell Quincy how she felt. And she was like, basketball is not fun no more because you're missing. And he was just like, you woke me up to tell me that? And I feel like at that point, Quincy was pretty rude to Monica then, but I hate to say but, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm making an excuse for Quincy, because I'm not. But you just got to get into the mind of, like, where Quincy probably was mentally. Like, he did tell Monica that she was selfish. And again, this came back up because he said that Monica told him that she still loved him 2 weeks before he got married, out of selfishness, just like that night when he wanted her to stay. Selfish because she went back in the room because he needed her. Again, that was another moment for Quincy to tell Monica, like, I felt X, Y, and Z because you left. I understand. And then understand, look, the situation at hand, why she had to do it. She had to do what she had to do for her, just like you had to do what you had to do for yourself. But he was rude to Monica because I truly feel like he felt like he was in a bind. Quincy was in a bind. Imagine the love of your life coming back up to you 2 weeks before you about to get married to another woman, and she tell you that she has still and has always been in love with you, and y'all have not been together in 5 years. Like, frustration. Like, the frustration, because they had 5 years to get it right. And now he about to go down the aisle, and she like, I'm still in love with you. He didn't know what to say. But besides, you really gonna try to pull this right now? I'm about to get married in 2 weeks. Because he still felt the way about Monica. He always did. And he tried to move on. Even to the point up into marrying somebody else. But if that ain't the person you ain't supposed to marry, that ain't the person you supposed to marry. If that ain't the person you supposed to be with, that ain't the person supposed to be with. The things will work out the way they're supposed to work out, when they're supposed to work out. And so Quincy freaking gets mad at Monica, don't want to play basketball, but go out there. And she was just like, I'll play you for your heart. And as dumb as that may seem to a lot of people, you got to realize that the game that they played was an analogy to everything else that was going on. But basketball was the bond that they both had, and that was each other's way to the other person's heart. So going out there and battling for your love on the court was symbolizing the battle for their relationship, to fight for what it is that they both wanted from each other. Monica go out there and she dropping buckets. She dropping buckets on Quincy. But it ain't till Quincy start, playing Monica like a dude, where, in the beginning of the movie, Monica beat him, but he ends up being Monica. And when Monica loses, she just knows that, like, he's not in that same place. But the whole time, I know Quincy's in that place, because if Quincy was never in that place, Quincy would have never entertained that game in the first place. He would just be like, no, Monica, like, that's old, that's done, it's in the past. Like, I love Kira, like, we get married tomorrow. Like, it's too late for that. That was another part of my life, Monica. I cherish what we had in the past. I'm sorry for breaking your heart. Like, it would have been all of that if that was the case. But when he took his hips out there to play that basketball game, I knew that Quincy was still in love with Monica. And so it wasn't until he was like double or nothing, she turned around. I was just like, yeah. And then we see, her in the league. He's supporting her. He was a Laker and she's a Spark. And they have a baby. I just wish we would have got to see the wedding. Why we get to see the wedding? Did Quincy still was it like a different world type situation, where when Whitley was about to marry Byron, and then Dwayne was like, please, baby, please. And then, Dwayne used their wedding to get married. Was it that type of situation? I mean, the wedding was already planned. So did Kira just not show up? How did the conversation go between Quincy and Kira? You know what I'm saying? Or did Monica was just, went and got married to Quincy them 2 weeks later? Like, I mean, they already had been together all the other years. I didn't see no point in wasting no more time. They knew they wanted to be together. So did they get married 2 weeks later? How many years later did they get married? I mean, the baby, by the time Monica played, she was in the league, and Quincy and the baby was at the game. The baby was at least 1 or 2. She was old enough to dunk on the goal. She might even been 3. Because on the post, it was the end scene, and the baby was dunking on the goal. Was that supposed to be a setup for a Love and Basketball 2? Because if Love and Basketball does have a 2 eventually, like, I totally have like 5 million ideas that I've already thought about that, the movie can go and the stance it could take. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, I would have loved to see where the story went with Quincy and Monica after Monica went into the league, and how it would have been, with their daughter, if their daughter would have grown up playing basketball. Like, what would that have looked like? So yeah, y'all, I think that's all that I have for Love and Basketball. Love and Basketball is still like one of my top basketball movies, and I'm probably gonna review some other basketball movies over again. Well, not over again, but watch them as an adult, because you miss a lot of things when you're young, just because your mind hasn't matured and you don't really understand and look at facial expressions, nonverbal communications. You don't really look at all of that stuff. But yeah, that's it. I still like the movie. I think the love story is still beautiful. I mean, it may be a little complex around some parts, but you got to think about the time. You got to think about the era. You got to think about what was going on, the psyche of the characters, what was going on in their family life. You got to think about a lot of things. And I think also that's why I am so like into Swagger, because it's kind of like a modern day new age Love and Basketball, but you get to have a little bit more of a deep dive with the characters, because it's a TV show versus a movie where you got a certain amount of time that the movie's supposed to be in. So yeah, y'all. Sorry the video is long, but if you stay with me this long, I thank you so much. Stay tuned for my reviews. I still have swagger videos that's gonna come out, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more videos. Deuces.